Getting Erev Shabbos, everybody. Welcome to Jerry's Parsha Pondering / Corona Contemplations. We're going back a little bit to Shavuot, Parshat Naso. Now, we're in kind of one of those interesting periods where the Parshiot are different in Chutz La'aretz as they are in Eretz Yisrael. So we're going to touch on both Naso, which is read this week in Chutz La'aretz, and Beha'alotcha, which is read this week in Eretz Yisrael. So, welcome everybody. It is Wednesday. I'm doing this. I'm doing this video earlier. I usually do it on Thursday. I am going in for back surgery tomorrow. This is back surgery 2.0. Vertebrae L2, L3, possibly L1. So if everyone would keep me in mind, Seah Kapitel Tilim, Yaakov Yehuda Halevi Ben Miriam. So, moving forward. Shavuot. Let's start with Shavuot because why not? We just passed Shavuot. So Shavuot is one of the, probably the most enigmatic of the holidays, as unlike Sukkot and Pesach, there's a fly. It is only one day in Eretz Yisrael, 2 days in Chutz La'aretz, but we celebrate Shavuot as Zman Matan Toratenu, the time when the Torah was given. Yet, no date is actually given for Shavuot in the Torah. It says, that we'll count the Omer. Again, we've spoken about that over the last couple of weeks, how it's such a happy time of the year, how it always bothered me that they turned it into a mourning period. The Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva died in the Bar Kokhba rebellion. That's well documented, but let's just talk about Shavuot right now. And it says, Tisperu Chamishim Yom, and it says in the Torah, B'chodesh hashlishi, letzeit b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim, bayom hazeh ba'u midbar Sinai. Doesn't tell us what day it was. It could be the 5th, it could be the 6th, it could be the 7th of Sivan, depending on all sorts of different factors. Yet, this is the day. I mean, this is the day when we became Mamlechet Kohanim V'Goy Kadosh. This was the day that we received the Torah. This is what's going on? Why doesn't it say, like it does for Sukkot and for Pesach, the 15th day of the month, and this month, and that? So, that's one question. Here's another question. And you can see we got 2 loaves on the screen here. Shavuot is the only time of the year when chametz is actually brought as a korban. In all the other korbanot that are meal based, the korban is always matzah. It's always unleavened. Even the lechem apanim were not loaves as we know loaves. They were these U-shaped flatbreads. So, another interesting question. And what's Ruth got to do with it? On Shavuot, we lay Megillat Ruth. Okay, so let's take these on one at a time. First of all, I heard something beautiful the night of Shavuot. Shavuot is specifically not given a date, and I believe this was from Rav Daron Peretz, Shlita, because as we say when we say Shema every day, Asher Anochi Mitzavcha Hayom. Every day is another personal Kabbalat HaTorah, which is why the Torah does not give a specific day to Kabbalat HaTorah, to the receiving of the Torah, because we receive the Torah every single day. He said something even more fantastic, how every day is a mini life. You get up, you wash, right? Because we know that sleep is 1/60th of death, and the sun rises, and we our strength gets greater after the coffee, and then eventually at the end of the day, it's dark, we're tired, we go to sleep, and we start all over again. But every day is a separate Kabbalat HaTorah, a new day to start over. If we made mistakes previously in life, it's a new day, a new beginning every single day. And that's why Shavuot doesn't really have a date given. It's also known as Chag HaBikurim, the first fruits. We brought the first fruits of the harvest on Shavuot. Again, it's showing that renewal. Every day is a new renewal. Every day is a new Kabbalat HaTorah. And that's why in Yiddishkeit we don't despair, right? Because every day, all right, I screwed up today. Fine, tomorrow's another opportunity. The Shtei Halechem. On Pesach, we specifically don't eat what? Chametz. Because we know that the chametz is the seir shebe'isa. It's the ultimate form of gashmiut, of physicality. Yet on Shavuot, this is interesting, we specifically bring a chametz, a leavened offering. Now, shouldn't it be, isn't that strange? Because Pesach is the physical emancipation of Judaism, and we said this last week when we compared Yom Ha'atzmaut and Pesach and Yom Yerushalayim and Shavuot. Well, on Shavuot, we bring like we said, the Chametz Dika offering, the very physical offering. And that's not obvious, but interesting and mind-boggling if you think about it. On Shavuot, we have to incorporate the physical into the spiritual, because lo nitna haTorah lamalchei hasharet. The Torah was not given to the malchei hasharet. The Torah was given to human beings, and we are a synthesis of spirit and body, of spiritual and physical. And without the physical, we cannot be. So on Pesach, we rid ourselves of the physicality, even though it was the physical emancipation. We had to rid ourselves of the tumah, of the uncleanliness of Egyptian society, where it was very depraved, very physical, and full of avodah zarah, idol worship, and all sorts of don't ask what. And slowly, over the 49-day period between Pesach and Shavuot, and that's why we have all the Sfirot that we count during Sfirat HaOmer, Yesod Shebesod, Yesod Shebeteferet, Teferet Shebeyesod. We are slowly reintroducing humanity, physicality, to our spiritual selves. And on Shavuot, when we receive the Torah, it completes that synthesis. It's a little medaf halten cup abyssal, but that is how the Torah works. There is no spirituality without taking the physical life and physical pleasures and all of that and raising it to a spiritual level. And of course, Ruth. Ruth is the story of the ger, of the convert. Ruth stayed with her mother-in-law even though she was a princess, and her sister, I always say Oprah, but Orpah, she went back to Moab. But Ruth clung to Naomi, and your God is my God, your people are my people, where you will die, I will die, etc., etc. The Torah is available to all. We are not a cut-off country club where those that wish to join the Jewish people can't. Anybody can join the Jewish people. You just have to accept the Torah. And that's what Shavuot is all about, accepting the Torah. And from Ruth came the Davidic dynasty, the kings of Israel. So we see that from the humblest of beginnings, people can rise in Yiddishkeit and Judaism to the highest heights. Let's take a look at Parshat Naso. I'm going to give a couple of quick little thoughts on Naso and Beha'alotcha. So in Naso, we learn about the Sota and the Nazir, amongst other things, the Birchat Kohanim, Yevarechecha. Okay, so the Sota is a very strange story. A man is jealous of his wife. She's talking with fellows she shouldn't be, and we know the whole story. I don't want to get into, misogyny and all of that stuff, but the Sota is, of course, an allegory in many ways. Yes, there was always that possibility. If it happened, it happened rarely. It was a very strange situation. But it talks about the whole idea of one going astray. Man, woman, it doesn't really matter. And it's interesting that this usually falls out somewhere around Shavuot. And where the Sota is an allegory for Am Yisrael going off the derech, when we stray from Hashem and look to other gods, small g, whether that god is a statue, a television, or an internet, or a cell phone. But whatever it is, when we go astray, things get real. Right, and we're embarrassed and we're ashamed before God, and we bring a carbon, and of course, if we do proper tshuva, of course, all is forgiven. The Nazir is an even stranger situation. The Nazir, and we say a person who saw the Sota being shamed, so they should take Nazirit on themselves and prevent themselves from too much physical pleasure. But think of what we just said about the Shtei Halechem. Remember, the Nazir, at the end of his period of Nazirit, has to bring a carbon chatas, right? He has to bring a sin offering. Well, this guy just became a monk. As a matter of fact, a monk in Hebrew is a Nazir, right? So what sin did he commit? You see, being too asceticism is not a great thing in Yiddishkeit. We just saw that without the physicality, there can't be spirituality. So if a person wants to separate himself from the Kehila in order to work on himself, his spoidedus or hitbodedut, that's okay. But remember, it's not the best thing. The best thing is to be able to make that synthesis between the physical and the spiritual, not to bubble oneself off or convent oneself off into a monastery or the like. We are supposed to live in the world and be a mamlechet kohanim v'goy kadosh, a holy nation to Hashem, and to live an exemplary life of taking the physicality of this world and raising it to a higher level, to take a piece of meat and make a bracha, to take a piece of bread and make a bracha, and to see a rainbow and make a bracha, and to see the ocean and make a bracha, and in everything see Hashem, but to enjoy. Hashem didn't give us the world not to enjoy. Hashem only wants what's best for us. So when a person takes asceticism on themselves, they have to realize that that's a temporary state and certainly not ideal. Let's look a little bit at Parshat Beha'alotcha. Of course, the menorah, the lighting of the menorah, I am a Levi, Baruch Hashem, and in this parsha, the Leviim are taken because we didn't sin with the Egel Azav, so the Leviim became the priests and those that served in the Beit HaMikdash. I'm also a Bechor, so I'm kind of got it either way, which is okay. So nothing really lost there. But let's look at a couple of interesting parts of Beha'alotcha. First of all, you see, I'm sitting right in front of this graphic, and it's an important graphic. All right. How do I do this? Okay. V'hareotem b'chatzotzrot. All right, I'm going to lean back. Right, and you could see the the blowing of the shofar and the trumpets, and how that was done in times of war and in times of celebration. The blowing of the shofar, reminding us that Hashem fights for us. And remember, it was just Yom HaAtzmaut and Yom Yerushalayim, we blow the shofar at night to show that even in celebration, we realize that Hashem yilachem lachem va'atem tacharishun, that ultimately it's Hashem who fights our battles for us. But see, I'm sorry. I have to remember not to do that. But let's take a look above the Kivrot HaTahava. This was Vayehi ha'am kamitonanim. The people were complaining. We've said this a number of times. Hashem does not like complaining. It doesn't go over very well with him. And the people were complaining about the man. It's too boring, and it's the same thing every day, and I want ice cream. And things went majorly sideways. We remember the fish and the cucumbers in Egypt. Please, you were a slave. That's like people saying, remember how good things were in Auschwitz. I mean, come on. What's going on here? So we see that Vayehi ha'am, whenever it says ha'am, realize that we're dealing with an insurrection. Right, the Erev Rav. When it says Ha'am, it's the Erev Rav, usually. People were rabble-rousing and Antifa, if you will, right, in Yonei Dioma. And they riled up the people, and the people complained, and Hashem said, you want quail? I'm going to send you, not Dan Quail, but I'm going to send you so much slav, it's going to be coming out of your nose. And of course, there was a big plague, and people died, and bad stuff happened because of lack of appreciation, the lack of the attitude of gratitude. When you have, and you complain, and you don't appreciate what you have, then punishment will be quick in coming. Now, if we take a look at what's going on in the United States today, Rahmana litzlan, we saw an animal of a cop kill an innocent person. Awful. And as someone who grew up in the JDL, I can tell you that bad cops are not hard to find, but they are an extreme minority. Most police officers are good people, and they're really there to help the citizens. To go ahead, and because a person was killed, which is terrible, and the cop should die in jail, which I'm sure he will, and the three other cops, interesting, of three different races, as if that should matter, it doesn't, that will also be punished for not stopping him. But what does that have to do with burning down private businesses, destroying property, public and private, looting Targets and Walmarts, and just overall destruction? That's kamitonanim. That's disgusting. That's lack of gratitude. No one has a monopoly on suffering. If anybody in the history of mankind knows what it's like to be targeted and to suffer, there goes Ghost. If anyone knows, it's the Jews. I mean, let's be real. Nobody can beat us at the who's had it worse over the last 2,000 years game. Nobody. We were burnt. We were gassed. Even in the United States, people who didn't work Shabbos, they lost their job every week. The worst things. we came out of Auschwitz, we built a superpower. Did we complain? Did we loot any stores? Did we burn down businesses? Did we burn down our streets? We lost our job every week because they didn't work Shabbos. You know what the Jews in America did? They didn't burn down their friends' businesses on the Lower East Side. They didn't go loot Alexander's or J.C. Penney's or E.J. Corvettes. They built their own businesses and built themselves up. This is never the answer, Rabbosai. And don't excuse it. Not this privilege, not that privilege. That's not who we are, and it's not who any human beings should be. Don't be like the Mitonanim. Don't be like the Erev Rav. Don't always have the attitude of gratitude. And if you give that forth, if you show gratitude to people, all people, then you'll see that what goes around comes around. Rabbosai Shabbos hi makar habracha, don't roll on Shabbos. Zachar es Yom HaShabbos Lakadsho. Shabbos is your membership card into Am Yisrael. And remember that even in the Beit HaMikdash, in the holiest of holies, Shabbos always comes first. Thank you very much for joining us, Jerry's Parsha Ponderings. Like I said, I'm going into surgery tomorrow. Yaakov Yehuda Halevi Ben Miriam, please say a kapitel Tehillim for me. And I hope to get back at this as soon as possible. Hopefully it won't be more than a week or two. Thank you very much for joining us. Have an absolutely wonderful and meaningful and spiritual and physical together Shabbat. Have a great weekend.